So make sure that, the other mantra that I always tell people is like, so many people in my industry, like the folks that are like not highly ethical, they're in sales mode all the time, right? You should never be sold investments. You should be buying investments, right? I'm buying this index fund. I'm buying this. I'm hiring this wealth manager. But when you're sold stuff, you're sold annuities. You're sold these products. Like the chances of you getting hustled or bamboozled or less than optimal investment, they just go up a lot.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Webster. I have my man, Chris Magaña, CHRISMAGA right?
I think so. You just paused in there somewhere. I think so. Automatopoeia in there somewhere. I don't know.
So we're back again. It's been a minute since Chris been on the show. But for those that don't know Chris, I haven't seen him before. He is what I would say my marketing guru. He can tell you from the market to financials to credit. I mean, the letters behind his name goes on and on and on, but I won't steal his thunder. So Chris, tell the folks who you are, what you do.
So I'm an investor first and foremost. So I do that for myself, and I do that for a handful of nonprofits in the Pacific Northwest and a handful of families. So the job is to protect and grow capital, and the markets are always changing. Interest rate policies are changing. Politics is always changing. I always like to say that, the markets are the one place where, like all the different disciplines come together. I mean, politics, tax policy, economics, business strategy, they all collide into one place. And the outcome is, stock market returns, bond market returns. So it's great to have a good, strong sense of history. It's good to be a very patient, not get too knee-jerk reactions. But yeah, it's an awesome career. I love it. It's such a blessing and a privilege to be entrusted with.
How long you been doing it?
Professionally since 2004. So.
Oh wow!
So 22 years.
22. Wow!
But I've been a nerd for this stuff ever. Like I started investing when I was like 16 and.
Hold on, you investing when you were 16? There wasn't computers around to where you could do.
Oh no, we're talking newspapers, looking up stock quotes, and he was a terrible high school teacher. He's terrible. I mean, he was a basketball coach. And that's all he really cared about. And but the one thing he did two things for me that were pretty amazing. He played this little stock market game where you pick a couple of stocks and then you follow them throughout the term and you calculate the return and you do all that stuff. Okay. And I didn't know anything. I mean, there's white collar, blue collar. I'm a no collar family. Like we had no money. Right. So I didn't even really know what the difference between a stock and a bond was. So I just hey, I'd never been on an airplane. Let me pick an airplane stock. Like, let me pick this name sounds cool. I don't even know what they do. Like, and then I picked, I don't know, Campbell Soup or something. And the stocks did really well. And so at the end of the term, I go to my teacher in high school and I was like, this is really fun. He's like, man, I wonder if there's like a book on this or something. And he's like, dummy. There's like libraries on the stuff. There's this guy named Warren Buffett. And I'm like, is he related to Jimmy Buffett? And so, I mean, again, he was a lousy teacher. But he sparked something in me to kind of and at that point I'd never read a book on anything. Like I didn't have ChatGPT or Cliff's Notes, but if I did back then, I would have never read anything. I mean, I didn't even have Wikipedia back then. No. So, but yeah, I mean, it sparked this thing and it just made sense to me. Yeah. Dang. So the market's always kind of made sense to me.
Made sense as in you not only understood it, but you did well in it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I did all the things you shouldn't do. Like, I borrowed money to go to school and took it and invested it instead. And, I went to school, but, I today, I mean, it's complete malpractice. Like I could never do it for the client, but I took money that was due, next term and invested it, but in this, if I was doing that for a client, you would never, if they're trying to, buy a second house or something, you wouldn't put that money that they need in 6 months or 8 months into the markets because the volatility of the markets it might not all be there when you get back in 6 months. So, but I did that, I was young, dumb, and it worked out. And yeah, so I did a lot of things back then you shouldn't do.
There's a lot of things that we didn't have cameras back then either. So
that is true too. Yeah. I've seen some pictures of the way you dressed back then. There was some tragedy there too. There's some real tragedy.
I was was a fly guy.
Yeah, he thought he was.
He
was crossed, but he wasn't Chris.
Cross colors, baby. Yeah, you like when we talk about stock market, and I'll just keep it real, Black and brown folks, there's a hesitation. We will lean more to 401k, savings account, or the mason jar. I don't, you said 2004. I don't even think I even knew this about the stock market still in 2004. I was just graduating with my first degree. But you said 16, and I think I'm 1 year older than you. So I never heard, like, no one in my family talked about the stock market.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful you paid attention to school. But for those that are like, as we start businesses, as we start, with this whole AI revolution of the new way that we're going to work, either with AI and people are getting downsized, blah, 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 whatever the case may be, how should we go about this market and managing our money? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot there. I think now is the time to be really, really tactical. And I think it really depends on where you're at, like in your career and where you're at with your skill sets. So, I teach at Willamette University in their MBA program, a lot of early MBA kiddos. So, these are, kind of straight out of undergrad or maybe 1 or 2 years, post undergrad, and they go back and get their MBA. And then I also teach in the MBA professionals, which are kind of mid-career people, 40-year-old at Nike or Intel or some other company, and they want to, they want a director role or something, and they think the MBA is going to really help them. So like my advice sometimes is different for those two groups. And then it's also different again if I'm working with a husband and wife who, hey, I want to retire, I'm 60, I want to retire in 3 years, so it's different. But just, I would say the younger you are, first and foremost, I say you should not be loyal to organizations. You can be loyal to people. I've worked for publicly traded companies. I've been in management rooms where essentially, you're sitting there, you're thinking you're building a long-term team, you're recruiting kids out of college and building them up and got a 5-year career track for them. And then, the CEO comes down and says, hey, we're going to be 3 pennies light on our quarterly earnings this time. We need to cut 150 grand from our payroll. And you're sitting around with the management team and you're like, who do we got to cut? And you're like, so, being loyal to organizations is tough, in my opinion. I think you're asking to be set up for some disappointment. So I always just say, you can be loyal to the people around you who support you in your career. You can be loyal to your boss if they're, your advocate and they're, championing for you. But being loyal just because you work for, fill in the blank big bank or big consumer shoe brand or whatever, like, I just think that's not smart. So the first thing I usually tell young, especially if they don't, if they don't have, they're starting with a small base of capital, like, oh, I've got $5,000 that I've tucked away. What do I do? And I'm like, you can invest that. It's fine. But I wouldn't overthink it and I wouldn't spend too much time on it. I'd say I would focus, since you're young, I'd focus on skilling up. I would focus on you developing, the tools and resources to really accelerate your career, because you accelerate your career and your earnings power at a rate that's, faster than normal, because you went back and got an MBA, you took some classes online, you just did the old school YouTube kind of, hard knocks school. Like those kinds of things will pay off more than you finding the right, on your little $5,000 starting portfolio, finding, something that's going to grow at a 1 or 2% more than kind of the general markets. Like the younger you are, like I always say, like, you need to invest in yourself. You need to invest in kind of finding things that, we're talking just money stuff, like, building your career, but also like joy and, things that, inspire you to kind of keep, that you enjoy the work and you enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. And it's more complicated now with AI, because I'll tell you, like, I'm a heavy user of, I use Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. As soon as ChatGPT came out, like, it was all over like the Reddit threads, and I'm like, what is this? And like, I started using it, and it was trash.
Right.
But it is amazing how much they've grown and how much improvement there's been in a short period of time. So there's like some reports and stuff. I'm still real paranoid about like putting in personal information or client information. Like I don't do that. I scrub everything really, really tight.
I know
on
in
that.
Gemini, they do say that we are not using this to learn from, but it's like, come on.
And they're lying. They're all lying, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
the
only people that lie more than tech companies are politicians. I'm still waiting for my $2,000 tariff check.
26.
I'm still waiting for, the deficit to be zero. And tech companies lie constantly. They're in the stew all the time for, like, oh, we're not trying to addict kids to social media. And then memos come out that they're trying to, that they know it, right? So come on. So no, I'm a little paranoid about sharing like personal information with these for-profit enterprise. The same way was like whenever it's doing those, what are they, Forever 21? No, that's the clothing store. Right. What was those like where you
DNA?
Yeah, you find out you're Irish.
23andMe. I did.
There you go. And I told everybody, no. This is a for-profit company, and they're going to use that in ways that you don't know about it. So I'm like, no. And then of course it comes out that they're using it for all kinds of crazy stuff. So I just
might be clone. There's another part of me walking.
Yeah, he's AI. But no, like, so I'm a little paranoid about that stuff, and I think I've got good reason to be, like, given the track record of companies and politicians. But
follow the money.
Anyways, 4 months ago I was using Claude for some like reports that would generally, like in the old days, pre-AI, would take my team and I, 6 hours to put together. For clients, right? And then kind of like, well, why can't I use AI for this? So then about, 4 or 6 months ago, I started using Claude for this one report in particular. And it went from 6 hours to, it did the heavy lift for me. And I had to massage it and have somebody on my team massage it for like 90 minutes. But it was essentially, it went from 6 hours to about 90-minute project. So I actually had to produce this report just like 2 weeks ago. And I've played around. I've got my own little financial analyst kind of bot working for me on Claude Cowork now. And I said, I'm just going to see if it'll do the whole thing for me instead of just the data collection part, and then see if it'll do the whole thing for me, right? And I gave it an example. I uploaded some stuff, and it did. And it did it pretty. I wanted it not to work. I really did. I'm like, I want to be able to call. Can I cuss on this? I wanted to call beep. Yeah. No, I wanted to be able to like, see, this is why you can't trust this stuff. And it did the report pretty well. I had to massage a couple little things, and, but it did it really well, right? So I'm thinking, I think if you're not in a growth mindset and you're not trying to skill up and like skill adjacent to where you're at, I think you should be worried about your job, right? Yeah. I think you really should. If you're doing data entry and that's about it, and that's the only value you add,
I think a year ago, I was asking questions of everyone that came on the show, like, do you believe AI could take your job? And initially, like, no, because, AI was just so clunky and everything. And we are now coming to a point, in my opinion, like you just said, it's gotten so much better to where now, like you said, if you're any entry level, anything, entry level, AI got you.
I mean, I don't think it's got you. I think, again, you've got to figure out new ways to add value. And I think that, in some ways, again, like, one of the things my earlier rant was, I was like, just the collision of all these different, financial and history and politics and military, all this. Well, if you have a sense of history too, think about this, like at every point there has been this fear that the assembly line, the ATM machine, the processor, the data, everybody's got a desktop computer. There's going to be no need for assistants any longer. People still have virtual assistants. They still have, secretaries. They still have, all this stuff. So, but what's changed is what they do, right? The work that they do. So if you take, some executive assistant, they were probably called an assistant back then or something else. Right. But if you take what they did maybe 20 years ago in terms of like, what does your week look like or what does your day look like? It looks a lot different now than it did then. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think the same thing for a marketing professional, a financial advisor, a CMO at some big company. Like, I think the role is going to change, but the role is still going to be needed. Yeah. So, but again, if you are not of the growth mindset and you're not trying to expand and learn and like elevate your game, like I think those are the folks that are in trouble. So it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's like, it's the PhD And by that, I mean poor, hungry, and driven financial advisor or marketing professional or who knows how to leverage these tools, because that's what they are. They're just tools.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the same way that, again, there's probably just as many bank tellers today, if not more, than there was when the ATM machine came out. Right.
Yeah. You just see.
But they do more stuff now.
Right. The banks are just emptier, same spaces, but there's a lot emptier.
Yeah. But also, the role of a bank teller back 20, 30 years ago they were only doing cash. Now you go in there, they're like, well, have you talked about a home equity loan? Have you talked about this? Have we looked at your corporate credit card? They can do more stuff, right? So the job has evolved.
Right.
And so the people that evolve, right? I mean, when I started doing informational interviews, in my industry, in the investment, because I was laser focused. I knew that's what I wanted to do. Like, the financial advisors were essentially, their advantage or what they did was they just basically read the Wall Street Journal. And then, so they knew like 10% more than their clients.
Wow.
That was their whole advantage.
Wow.
I would say the average like 50-year-old who pays a little attention to the markets and, maybe has went through some kind of like Dave Ramsey kind of thing, or, some, they paid some attention, knows more about the financial markets and knows more about like wealth management than an advisor did 25 years ago. Because they were sales folks and they just read the Wall Street Journal.
Again, we didn't have computers.
No. So that was the advantage, right?
I get that. That makes sense.
So I look at now, like, when I started, it was, there's these software systems that we use that, they were the entry or the advantage we had then was your average Joe investor wasn't spending $40,000 for they're called Bloomberg terminals, and they just have massive amounts of research and data to them, right? And so our advantage then was, well, we've got all this infrastructure, we've got really smart MBAs on the staff, and we've got these tools that we spend, a couple $100,000 a year on. That's our advantage over you, Joe Schmo, who's just mom and pop investing. And now even in that, now the tools have the price for some of these tools, the professionals still pay big money for those Bloomberg terminals, FactSet machines, and things like that. But I see the tools that are available for the average investor now for $79 a month or something. It's like crazy good.
Oh.
So like now from my mind, the advantage isn't for the professionals. It isn't necessarily the information edge anymore. Like, now it's, it's moved on. So that's the thing. Again, all these professions evolve, and I don't care if it's, marketing, medicine, financial advising, investing, it's just evolving is all it is.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to be curious. You have to be interested in learning more, and you have to be, and I think interdisciplinary knowledge, like taking like two disciplines and smashing them together. Engineering and finance, medicine and marketing, like taking two disciplines and kind of merging them together, because that's like a unique value prop now. Right. Yeah. So I think, and I think it also, you look at the world and you look at business problems different when you have that kind of mindset, right? And when you have when you've been steeped in different knowledge bases, right? So I, like the more you can get outside of your little bubble of whatever industry you're in, I think is really, really valuable. So like one of the things is like, there's, I think most industries have these events and these like societies, it's like there's the CFA society in finance and investing. And, they got, annual events and, conferences and stuff. And while there's some good stuff you can learn from some of these things, I literally go to one of these things every 5 or 6 years now, because they're all the same people talking about all the same thing, looking at the world and the markets the same way, because we're all steeped in the same discipline, right? Yeah. We all read the same stuff. We all went to the same schools. We listen to the same thought leaders. So it's like, yeah, we're all smart, but there's no new knowledge coming out of this, right? I'd much rather go hang out with marketing folks, small business owners, other stuff like that. I think that's where you get some unique knowledge, right? So that thing kicked off.
Oh, man, it could have, but I was so focused that may have went, and I'm going just to see if we got it, but here, I'll start again. Yeah, technical difficulties glitch. Yeah, no, And
my hotness was too much.
It was fire. We had to pick it back up. So now you have my brain going, because it's like I remember in Trading Places they had the like terminal of, and that was the Bloomberg. Is that what?
Yeah, I don't think that was a Bloomberg, but it's similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, yeah, like the price of pork belly, orange juice, and of course it was just like entertainment, but some of that's like was real.
Yeah.
Getting, you know, the biggest thing that I've started to learn is like the Magnificent Seven. When it comes to the top seven companies that are supposed to be diverse out of the industries. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. Okay, because I
I will.
So I'm learning about, you know, how I want to put myself in the agency in the position to where I can win these bids and talk at these conferences, right? I want to level up my own game. But when I'm looking at these Magnificent Sevens, I'm seeing like how AI, they're like, who was not BlackRock, but one of the top financial folks, they just now started to lay off or not taking on more interns. It's a top financier in like New York, whatever the case may be. But it just seemed like that Magnificent Seven, all these were once big time players until NVIDIA showed up. And NVIDIA is now like the number seven. And I don't know, do you know them all by heart?
Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon.
Is Exxon one?
No, they're all tech companies.
Okay.
NVIDIA. I know I'm missing a couple, but
if they're all tech, then that makes sense. Okay.
They're all large tech companies. They're all over $1 trillion in market cap. They're all huge companies. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And does any of that stuff like how much should you know about markets? You know, depending on one person you follow on Instagram, you should know this. This is where you should be putting your money into. You follow another person like a Dave Ramsey. That doesn't matter. You should be focused on 401ks or bonds. You talk to another person, forget all that. You get gold, get silver. You know, another person's Bitcoin, your Ethereum, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's one. If there was one way to do it, you wouldn't have all these different content creators and different thought leaders and different financial firms telling you like, no. The right way to do it is through private capital, and the right way to do it is through private investing. Or no, just buy low cost index funds and go to the beach. Like, so there's more than one way to do it. And I think it's probably because there's more than one. Like each one of us is unique, right? Each one of us has our own.
That's true.
You know, some of us might be more risk averse than others. Some of us might be in different tax brackets, so different types of investments make sense because they're more tax efficient. Some of us might, you know, we might just want a different, you know, we want more control, right? So like something where it's like, no, I'd rather put all my eggs in one basket and I control that basket, and so I keep my wealth in my small private business that I'm in charge of and I'm responsible of. And the idea of outsourcing that to wealth accumulation to an advisor or some markets that I don't understand, that's scary to me, or that, you know, that doesn't make sense. So there's more than one way to build wealth. And I think that and protect it as well. I mean, I think there are some tenets, like some things that are kind of fundamentally true. You know, like, you know, one of them is that in our industry, like the more helpers you get, right? The more people like me, the more the fees are guaranteed, but the performance is not. Right. And I think there are a lot of folks in my industry and a lot of like financial firms that they create way more value than they take. Right. But they have, you know, they got bills to pay too, and they've got infrastructure, and, you know, I got a kiddo, I got bills. So I need to get paid. But I also think there's a lot of folks in our industry that the fees that they charge are not justified with the outcomes of what they do. Right. And so I think it's really important to, like, the more that you're going to kind of outsource, you know, your wealth management stuff, you know, the more you need to be educated. Right. So it was like, I don't know, I forget, 15 years ago or something. I went to this like 5-day investing like training at Columbia University in New York, right? And it was I think I stopped counting after there was like, I don't know, like $50 billion of investment managers in the room, right? Because it was all like portfolio managers like me, and we were running a small portfolio. We had like, I don't know, maybe at the time 400 or 500 million of capital. And like I was a little guppy in this room, right? There was like guys from Fidelity and Vanguard, and like, my portfolio is, 50 billion, huge numbers, right? And the baseball player Alex Rodriguez is in the class, right? And he had handlers, and he sat right behind me. I actually did like a little fake selfie thing where and I got him in the background, but and I'm like, all of us were kind of chirping a little bit, like, why is he here? Like, what's going on? It makes sense now, because if you follow that stuff now, like he's actually on Bloomberg now, and he does a bunch of like business media kind of mogul stuff. But at the time, he was still ball playing and whatever else. And so at lunchtime, one of the times, we're all broke for lunch, and we were in the cafeteria, and he didn't have change for the vending machine. He's trying to get a soda out of the vending. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, you need some change? And he's like, yeah, it'd be great. So I broke a 20 for him, and here, you gave him some cash. And it was really sweet, because like all the cafeteria ladies were like all these Latinas, and they lost their mind for him. And to his credit, he was super sweet to them. Like he was, you could see that his little handlers were like keeping people away. But he's like, no. And like all these little Latinas who were working in the cafeteria were just like hugging him and taking pictures. It was beautiful. But anyways, so I asked him when I'm getting him change, I'm like, why are you here? And he's like, I want to watch the watchers, right? I want to be able, like, I'm not trying to do their job, but I need to know what they're doing with my money, right?
Right.
And like that's a smart thing to do, right? So like, and I've had a couple clients over the years that in a little way I was like a little insecure, because I'm like, man, they're super smart. Like I don't think I add a whole lot of value. They know as much as I do about this stuff, and they spend as much time on it as me. And so one of those clients, I actually asked him, like he was a military guy. He commanded a nuclear submarine, and just super disciplined, super smart, and in another world, like he was like a hedge fund manager, because he knew his stuff and cared a lot about it. And so I asked him, I'm like, what do you really need me for? Right. And he said, Chris, he's like, I'm not going to live forever. Statistically, I'm going to die before my wife. I want to make sure I fully trust you and your team, so that if I tip over, I'll rest easy knowing that you're taking care of my family, or somebody that I trust, and I've given some leash to, and you didn't hang yourself with, and I gave you a little more leash, you didn't hang yourself. So he's like, that's what we're here for. Like, because I'm like, okay, now that makes sense to me, right? But not everybody thinks. I mean, in my mind, like he's talking about like legacy planning and succession planning. Like he's thinking, he was thinking incredibly long term. I think oftentimes people that hire investment professionals are just looking for like, can you do better than me this year kind of stuff, or I've just got money sitting kind of idle, like it should be doing something more. Can you just do it because I don't have that expertise? And I always try to I like to joke with my clients about saying things like, my goal is to educate you enough to like put myself out of a job at some point, right? Because like and it's I don't know how serious it is, but I want them to understand what we're doing. Like, I think one, it builds trust. And not, obviously, like sometimes, I've got some younger clients that are early in their careers, like, Chris, I just need you to do this. Like, I got kids. I just had to put my dog down. I got a roof, and like, I just need some help. Like, that's awesome. I trust you. Yeah, just go, just cook. Right. And that's fine too. But like over time, I do like to educate my clients so that they understand, how they should be looking at performance and how they should be thinking in terms of markets. And so it's I think it's an education that we all have. And now, and honestly, again, I feel like I should get like commissions or something, but like with these AI tools, like you can use them as a thought partner on some of this stuff. Like you can, like sometimes when I'm driving, like I'll just pop on, the voice activated one. I'll have a conversation and kind of go back and forth, and I'll say things like, I'll give it a good prompt like, hey, you're an MBA level, hedge fund manager with 25 years experience. I want to talk with you about standard deviations. and just go on like really technical stuff, and I'll just go back and forth with it. And I'm like, well, how does that apply to, you know, a currency investment versus a stock investment? And like, so we all have these tools now,
right,
where you have like essentially like the smartest brains in the world on any subject, not just investing, like, you know, business management, strategy, marketing, whatever. Like,
right,
you know, maybe, you know, maybe not binge watch that whole series of Netflix in one night and do half and spend a little bit of time like scaling up. Like, you know, I mean, I love The Office too, but that shit will be there. You know, it's not going anywhere. It's still be on Peacock. You can stream it later.
Right. No, I mean, even I'm trying to remember the AI that my daughter uses for her homework, but it was like, are you even reading this? Do you even do the report? Like, no, the teachers know that, you know, we use AI. So I'm like, so you're not writing this report at all? Well, we'll make sure it sounds good, but they don't have to write because they just use AI.
Okay, and that's the folly, right, in my mind. Because so there have been a bunch of studies that have come out recently that have talked about how heavy users of AI, their critical thinking skills are actually deteriorating.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not actually doing the work. If you use it like that, I mean, it's no different than morphine, right? If you're using morphine in the right way, it's going to help a very painful situation. Like, you know, you're using it the way your doctor prescribes it. It's a good thing, right? Use it because you're a junkie, you know, bad outcomes are going to happen, right?
Right.
AI, in my mind, is the same. If you're using it to do your work for you and you don't understand how to do that work, or you're not using it as a thought partner or an editor but you're just like, do it for me, you know, one, that's not a growth mindset. I think those like, you're going to be in the crosshairs of the first wave of people that get slaughtered in this new economy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. If you're using it to skill up, if you're using it to learn new things, if you're learning, you know, curious on how you can leverage into different tasks and different things, like that's your survival rate, in my mind, goes way up, and your value to an organization or to yourself, if you're choosing to do your own thing, goes way up.
Well, I think that's the whole part of, like you said, depending on the platform that you use, talk to it, some are voice activated. You can also go on the settings and make it to where if you can tell when it's AI when you have all those hyphens, but you can take those hyphens out. You can also get it to not agree with you all the time too. But I think now we have that level of sophistication.
Yeah.
But it's up to you if you spend the time on it, or if you want to binge watch. I forget your favorite Apple TV show that. I
don't know what am I watching on Apple right now. I watched that new War Machine. It's kind of corny. It was good. It was good. It was you know, it was low calorie junk food, right? It was like, it was not a great movie, but it was fun enough. That was the last thing I watched. It's the guy from he's the big guy, big bulky dude. Anyways, it was low calorie food, but it was 2 hours of like mild entertainment that, you know, was predictable.
Why you had your laptop and you're like,
you're like, oh, he's gonna blow up the robot. Oh, the robots are gonna do this. You know, you got it all.
Right.
You know, it's but it was fine. It was again, it was entertaining. But there's just so much opportunity, and I get. There are also, I hear from people from across the kind of income spectrum and across the skill spectrum, like a lot of fear about what the world looks like moving forward, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. But for the ambitious and for the folks that are willing to kind of put in some hard work and be curious and think, there's so much opportunity. Yeah. I mean, I think about I've got some AI stuff that's training on some of my RFPs, my requests for proposals, and it's able now to like literally some of these RFPs that we would do in the old days would take 20 or 30 hours, right? And to the point where there were deals that we wouldn't bid on because sometimes if I knew them or I felt comfortable, I'd just ask them like, is this a real RFP or do you already have in mind who you're looking for? Right. Because it's just a huge investment.
Yes.
It's a huge investment for us. We're a small firm, right?
Yes.
And we put in a lot of care on that kind of stuff. So like, it's a huge investment. If you've already know who you're going to pick, just wink at me twice. So I know, like, so I don't spend all this time on this. Right. And that part. You know, and sometimes, but if you don't know them or you don't feel like you're going to get the honest answer, like, you know, you can't really do that. So you kind of size them up. And then, I'm sure there were times that my radar was wrong. And like, I was like, I'm not going to bid on this because it's not worth 30 hours of our time. That's a couple $1,000s worth of our salary hours, just to bid on something that we have no chance.
No chance.
But with AI now, like, I'm like, oh, it's a couple hours of my assistant's time and me spending time while I'm watching War Machine thumbing through it. I'm like, yeah, this looks right. So it expands, our ability to acquire new clients, right? In a competitive situation. So stuff like that. And like, it doesn't matter if you're talking about lead generation for finding new clients. If you're talking about like when you're in the room, like creating dossiers on who you're in the room with ahead of time. So that, like I used to have, she moved on and I love her to death and she's still a client, but she's also had some stalker tendencies but we turned it to use it for good because she was very good at like, oh, you're meeting with so-and-so, like here's all his background. He got divorced 5 years ago. Yeah, you know her. You know her. Like, oh, she got divorced. He got divorced 5 years ago. He's got his 2 kids. He made at least $1 million because he sold his pizza business. And it was in the Oregonian or whatever. And like she loved doing that crap, right? And so like, I'm sorry, but now I have AI doing that for me. Like, it's good because she moved on and she's got a great job now. And I actually got to meet with her next week. But
I got to get you out of here because this is that time. It's that time. I'm going to get you out on one last thing before you give everybody your information. What do you think about Michael B. Jordan and his Oscar win?
The best like 3 minutes of cinema is when they're doing the DJ set and they're going through the history of music. That movie, movie was great.
On Sinners?
Yeah.
The DJ set.
Yeah. Where they're in the jazz bar and they go through the history of music and from hip hop to jazz. And it is.
That's at the very end.
It's absolutely beautiful cinema. It is absolutely beautiful cinema. The movie's great. I mean, it's
all right. I think it was all right. It was good for a black.
Okay, vampire. I also have a man crush on Michael B. Jordan, and so the fact that you get 2 Michael B. Jordans is, but no, it was a solid movie. But I'll tell you that scene. I mean, music is a big part of our families. We love music. We love live music. We love supporting local artists. We also go all over the world.
He's a record collector.
Like my vinyl collection is tiny, but that 3-minute scene, I just thought it was some of the most beautiful cinema I've ever seen. I've seen it 50 times. That
really?
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful scene. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you think it was well deserved, well earned?
Yeah, I mean the movie was unique in a lot of ways. It was. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was your classic kind of vampire-y, whatever. And you kind of knew some of it was pretty cool, but it was. I thought it was a beautiful movie. There's so many like hidden metaphors in there and like I mean if you watch it at a deeper level, like there's a lot of deeper stuff in there going on in that movie.
It really is. I mean, I think that unlike other vampire movies, that's what Coogler does though. I'm sorry, I think he should have won the Oscar for Killmonger.
Yeah.
Oh my God, his last line that he said, when I would rather die than to be held and be like my aunts. Man. Yeah. That's that part never gets old. So after that, you can, it doesn't matter. In all the creeds, I still feel Killmonger is like the apex of his best movie, unless he's got with another one. I don't know, but yeah, him and Coogler, man, they put out
dynamic duo.
Yeah. Where can they find you at?
LinkedIn probably is the easiest way. Chris Magaña, Magana. You can also Google running value. Usually I come up with on the Instagrams, but all I do is rant about politics on there and occasionally show off some whiskey that I'm drinking. But other than that, I'd say, unless you want to be offended, don't find me on Instagram. But LinkedIn's always a great spot. Well,
I know you on at least your Facebook stories have always something interesting. So I love
I mean, we travel a bunch and do weird stuff and hang out at weird places and run into random people. I'm still trying to bump into Michael B. Jordan, but
Soon.
I'd probably fanboy him too much. And like, I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not like,
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a soft spot for that guy. He's amazing.
Well, thanks for coming on the show again, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's been good. I know we would keep talking, but he got to go to the next one. But y'all follow him. I'm going to put his information in the show notes, in the description. If you haven't already, please subscribe and like, and make sure you follow up with the next one. We want to hear from you. If you have anything, put it in the comments in the chat below. And Chris, one last thing you want to get them out on, or a quote or motto or chant or prayer or energy that you want to say to them on the way out?
I would say just be incredibly curious about life, about your career, about building wealth, and surround yourself with the right people. And even if you make some you bump into, you're like, ooh, I made a mistake with this one. We've all done that. But like surrounding yourself with high integrity people and people that care for you. And specifically seek out people in your weaknesses, right? If you don't know a lot about finances, you don't know a lot about marketing, find people that you can help you level up in those areas, and give them permission to be honest and forward with you. Like, hey, if I'm, I want to get better at this, or, tell them what your goals are. And again, if they love, respect, and admire you, and want to see more for you, they're going to help you, right? And you but you got to give them that permission, because I think a lot of times all of us are a little hesitant to give feedback, especially if it's unwanted or if we don't know it's wanted. So that's when we say things like the worst answer ever, which is, no, it was good. It was good. It was fine. Right? Like, fine has killed more marriages, more business partnerships, more than anything else in the whole world, right? They always say like, oh, money or whatever kills divorces or business partnerships. No, it's like, oh, it's fine.
Fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
No. Like, tell me, how do I get better?
Yeah.
Right. So give them permission. And then I would say, like, if you're on the journey where you've accumulated a few, a bag, and you are working with professionals, like, it's okay to question them. It's okay to ask them, like, how much money are you getting paid on this? What are your incentives on this? Hey, how do I get, if we're meeting a year from now and it doesn't work out well, why is it not going to work out? Like, what, well, the economy did this, or this happened, or like, they should have thoughtful answers, right, on this stuff. Yeah. They should be willing to tell you how much they're getting paid on something, or, if their firm makes a pile of money off, option A versus option B for you, right? So make sure that, the other mantra that I always tell people is, like, so many people in my industry, like the folks that are like not highly ethical, they're in sales mode all the time, right? You should never be sold investments. You should be buying investments, right? I'm buying this index fund. I'm buying this. I'm hiring this wealth manager. But when you're sold stuff, you're sold annuities. You're sold these products. Like, the chances of you getting hustled or bamboozled or less than optimal investment, they just go up a lot, right? And there's nothing wrong with some of those investments that I rattled off. If used correctly, they're fine. But just build a radar for, like, am I being sold an investment here, or am I buying an investment? So, all right, that's what I got.
You got to rewind that. Rewind that if you didn't get
right back.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah. Until next time, y'all, wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed.
And watch Sinners, that 3-minute clip.
Okay.
Where they're doing the DJ set. It's amazing. It'll change your life. It's beautiful.